what you are preaching. You are living by what you are preaching. That's all I'm talking about.
Okay.
And this in the president talking about is going to his government. If it's not just about opposition, but if you're in his government and you do same, you also be caught by the neck. When this operation recover all loot started, I was questioning when this thing is beginning and where it's ending. I asked whether we are going to start at least from 1993, where this republic started, or we are just limiting it to the just ended previous administration. I asked those questions. Nobody has been able to tell us because they didn't give us the time frame, the period within which this oral thing will cover. So up to now, we do not know whether it's going to cover only the 8 years of President Akufo administration. He himself, former president himself, and now president, has been in power for 4 years. Whether it will cover that one too, and all that.
But I think it's clear, what the focus of Operation Recover All Loot is. I think it's clear because that it's about the Akufo-Addo administration and what they have done.
Nobody said that.
But what
does that mean? What does the aura mean? What does it mean?
You see, and I think that sometimes we try to play the ostrich with regard to what something means, that we dance around it because of politics, and all of that, when it is very clear what the facts available to us are. Let us call a spade. So Operation Recover All Loot.
Yes.
The promise that the NDC made is because they have they believe that the Akufo-Addo administration was a corrupt one, and there were a lot of people in the Akufo-Addo administration which were engaged in a lot of corrupt activities, and so they are making the promise that when they come into office, they are going to recover all the loot that was done by the Akufo-Addo administration. That is essentially what it is.
That's your understanding. That's how I understand it. It doesn't make sense to me for you to say that. Operation Recover All Loot. When you say all loot, all loot doesn't limit to. Is it the Akufo-Addo administration that is looting? It doesn't make sense to me.
Let me finish. You see,
it is your understanding, not my understanding.
Hold on, Audu. Let me finish. You have your understanding, but let's speak to what the NDC was saying. That is the promise that they made in their manifesto, and they say recover all. It's not valued properly. So if a state in cantonments at airports or wherever, the market value of it is, let's say, $1 million for land, $2 million for land. And then you, because of your connections to the states, acquire that land for, say, 100,000 Ghana cedis. You have fleeced the state because you've not paid the appropriate market value for it. If you actually pay the appropriate market value for it, say $1 million for the land, and you actually pay the $1 million for the land, even though it was from the state, and then you acquired it, people may not necessarily have a problem with you. So there is that dimension, as well, and that has been also one of the focuses of this.
Let me ask you. You, as Lantam, have you been told how much the private developer paid for that land that was released?
Well, if you listen to Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, in some of the instances, he talked about how much some of these lands were acquired vis-a-vis the market value. He's made some of those exposés.
Including chain homes?
I don't know about chain homes, but I'm talking about, because it's not only chain homes that he's talking about.
Look,
but anyway,
let me bring Ivy in. Ivy. Do you know when the first parliament, do you know there were some residents, some accommodation at, how do you call it? Where is the place? Where the MPs lived? Oh, Sakumono.
Yeah.
Who bought those houses, those properties?
Yeah, some of the MPs acquired the houses for themselves.
MPs, at that particular parliament,
yeah.
Which political party MPs occupy there?
Let me bring IB in now. IB,
which political party? I'm asking you a simple question. Which political party?
Yes.
I think if we put matters into proper context, it will be helpful. See, the MPP government was in power for 8 years.
Yes.
If you wanted to do something about those people that Audu is talking about, you could have done that. In this country, we all know that a government is only held accountable when it leaves office. It's not lost on anybody. There's no way a government in power will say that my own people have acquired lands, bring them back. Have you heard that before? There's no way. So therefore, we have been here long enough to know that accountability is exacted only when government changes hands.
Only on political opponents.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, it is.
Then we should be sincere about that.
That's the point.
I am going to go after my opponents who have acquired.
So tomorrow,
and
you see,
I'm going to go after my political opponents who have done wrong.
I'm coming.
My own
you heard the president
Make
talk
it clear.
No, hold on. You heard the president talk about the fact that Abaye the board teaching.
And one year the boba.
What does it mean? The ban will not be today, or the ban will be tomorrow when NDC government also leaves power.
Oh, it is not him.
No, but he also but with that
I get that.
He references his own appointees. That while they are in office, if you also do something wrong, we will deal with
and yet he is discharging and acquitting people who are on trial.
We'll come to that. We'll come to that. See. I will do. Let's be realistic. Let's be realistic. I'm sure even Godfrey Dami himself knew that once he could not secure prosecution after the 8 years, many of these political cases were dead. I sat on radio and listed them. And true to what I said, all of them, in fact, you will see more. So it's basic.
He could not secure conviction.
He could not secure conviction.
They started prosecution. In fact, in most of the cases, the state actually closed its case against their case.
Exactly. Yes. So in the case of Opuni and Ku and what have you, and in the case of Atofo, it was an appeal at the Apex Court of the Land. Everybody knew that those cases were not going to see the light of day anymore. Tomorrow, if NDC fails to secure conviction in many of these cases that will be taken to the court, the next MPP administration will discontinue all of them. It's basic. And there are things that are black and white in this country that we shouldn't be dancing around them. Mm-hmm. So you expected NDC to say that let's appeal at the forces
but who said they didn't limit it? It's just the name and it's just semantics. You know, if once you said all the
limited, I don't see the limitation.
But you know exactly what the NDC
I don't know that. I don't know that. I assume for a party that is fighting corruption, you want me to assume for them?
All of you.
Why do you assuming for them? I will not do that.
All of you.
You want me to assume for them what they mean?
Hold on. I'm just trying to
I'm doing analysis based on the way they have been operation
in leading this discussion. I'm trying to put all the issues into the right perspective.
We get that,
right? So that you know.
I don't judge.
But when you are doing your, of course, you are at liberty to explain or deal with the issues the way you see it. But if you want to be fair, to the point I'm making it that if you want to be realistic,
don't use the way if I want to be fair. But you cannot say if I want to be fair.
No, I'm coming.
Because the oral doesn't limit.
I can make my point.
I want you to point out where the oral gives specific period. What do you say I want to be fair?
How do allow me to do my job?
But you are attacking me.
I'm not attacking you.
Because if you say if I want to be fair.
I'm not saying you. I'm saying that generally.
But it's based on my comments. No, you have your say.
I'm talking about generally. I don't think it is lost on anybody. Like I said, and let me repeat it. I don't think that it is lost on anybody in this country that when the NDC was making that promise of Operation Recover All Loot, they were talking about how corrupt they believe the Akufo-Addo administration is, how the and they recover all loot means when they come, they will deal with them. I don't think it is lost on anybody that.
It is lost on me on that. That was not my understanding when I came to this show.
Yes, that was not your understanding, and you were entitled to that.
So you are Lantam. I think what you are doing is that you are explaining the rationale behind the NDC when they made that promise. Yes, but exactly. they did not put out this information.
Exactly. But
that's what I would do is insisting that.
So everybody else,
your understanding is
I would do is insisting that.
Yes,
but I would do is insisting that
stretch it however they want to stretch it.
And I would do is insisting that if you want
he's entitled
if you want to do Operation Recover All Loot,
then recover everything.
Then you don't assume that the loot that you are talking about is limited to the 8 years of the Akufo-Addo administration, because prior to Akufo-Addo's administration, there are people in Ghana who we know who bought state lands.
So if you want to do oral, extend it to all of those.
Exactly.
So you can make that argument.
It's like when we're doing reconciliation. You remember when President Kufuor was setting up the National Reconciliation how do they call it?
Commission.
Ibrahim, sorry, we have taken your time. Don't worry.
I'll bring him back.
Yes, he's the producer. He called us here, so it's fine. We can bully him. So I'm just saying that during that period, you remember then, former President Akufo-Addo then was the Attorney General, and he was invited to the Parliament to talk about the scope of the
Yes.
work of the Reconciliation Commission. And
you want me to sit
Let
here
me
and
bring
understand
Ibrahim.
that?
I'll allow you to talk. We'll take a short break and return. This is still GH Today. We'll be right back. Wilberforce Osari is here. Wilberforce Osari is here. Awudu Mahama is here. Ibrahim Al Hassan is here as well, and lawyer Nana Kwesi Boete has also joined us in the studio. So we'll be hearing from him. But let me come back to you, IB. You were making studio, so we'll be hearing from him. But let me come back to you, IB. You were making your point before we had to, go for the break. So your point before we had to, go for the break. So
inbox those messages, Baba Yakubu, and then inbox those messages, Baba Yakubu, and then I'm really purple. I'm really purple. How do they warning you?
By the way, lawyer boy, say good morning.
How do they warning you?
By the way, lawyer boy, say good morning. Good morning. You are welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to join you guys.
You let them come on.
Join you guys.
You let them come on. I'm going to say more.
I see. I will do. They are warning. I will do.
Yes. Oh, they are warning.
Even as you are welcoming me, I will do. Let you.
No.
You have to talk.
The warnings. I'm saying I will say more.
Oh no, but that was on the light channel. Yeah. All right. So yes, Ivy, let's hear you on this. These oral issues. Yes.
They are watching us, and so the point I'm making is that when it comes to exacting accountability, we all know. In fact, the NDC actually campaigned on that. And so the point I'm making is that when it comes to exacting accountability, we all know. In fact, the NDC actually campaigned on that. If you heard Mahama right, he had said that the only way the NPP will be held accountable is if he's voted out, and he repeated that on countless platforms. And so if NDC put this in its manifesto, that some loot perceived or real information, we are told the committee's work is done. The report will be presented to the president. The president then says, I will forward it to the investigative bodies. Now, I think the president doesn't even have to physically forward it to the investigative bodies. Guess what has happened? A member of ORA, Raymond Acha, has been appointed as deputy boss to Iyoko. So I'm sure whilst he walks to the office, he will be going with the dossier of information that they gathered. And then go there and then they start work. Iyoko is close with the powers to investigate some aspect of this so-called loot investigations that have been done. Now, when it comes to land acquisition and Nkrumah, I'm not sure we'll be here today saying that this place still belongs to the state. This land still belongs to the state. So if anybody says, and of course, in Parliament, Okudeto Ablakwa had initiated a private members bill.
Yeah.
With support from Kweku Kwarteng to ensure that government appointees are not allowed to acquire state assets. It didn't see the light of day. But guess what? The NDC put that in its manifesto. That it will ensure that government appointees do not acquire state properties. It's good news to me. Because you see, that is how the scale of poverty is tilted. By the dint of the fact that you are a politician, by the dint of the fact that your party is in power, you get all the luxuries of the state. You acquire them cheaply. And the underlying word here is cheaply. And next time when your children and my children are fighting, and it's all about wealth and resources, your children will tell my children that their father was useless. Meanwhile, the scales were not balanced. You got it cheaply because you were a politician. That is what we must write. So, you can argue that all to extend to pre-independent. I don't have a problem with you. If this government doesn't extend it to pre-independence, when another government comes tomorrow, right, the argument should be made that, no problem, the government that implemented ORA limited it to the Akufo-Addo regime. So the new regime that has come must equally extend it to another regime. I have no problem with that. See, okay, the point I'm making is this. Let's assume that NDC limits ORA to the Akufo-Addo regime. Yes. Tomorrow, when another MPP government comes, right, and it doesn't want to limit it to the NDC or the Mahama regime, right, which I think it should, after violence, and then there's a counter motion that let's go to Rawlings, violence, and then there's a counter motion that let's go to Rawlings. No, you see, that one will be you muddying the waters. Wow. Oral, as is found in the manifesto of NDC, and I tell you this, will be limited to the MPP regime. No two ways about that. There are no ifs or buts about that. Yes, the argument can be made that extended, but it will not be extended. That's how the politics works. It will not be extended. The point I'm making is that President Mahama is also saying that his appointees should take a cue and know that Aba Yedibo Techino, Yedibo Bar. I'm saying that if that Aba doesn't hit the bar in this administration, this party will not stay in power forever. There will be another party that will come. But all that we expect, personally, all I expect is that government appointees should not be allowed to buy state lands. No ifs, no buts. Now, how do related to what happened at the appointment committee, Okujeto Ablakwa? See, and I have said this here, that given how vociferous Ablakwa was in launching a crusade and exposing people, I will beat my chest and say that if the past administration had any debt on Ablakwa, I would be shocked that it did not pursue him. I'm telling you this. If the Akufo-Addo administration...
It's not about debt too. It's about
you are not getting me. You see, let me land. I'm saying that if Ablakwa, when you allowed him to do all that, went after, what's the name, the National Cathedral, went after this, today there's this expose, then the latest one, the most recent one was Kennedy Osenyako.
Yeah.
That he had bought land at a price that it ought not to have been offered. And yes, still, Ablakwa acquired state land and nobody exposed it. Ablakwa engaged in corrupt deals to acquire his house at Airport Hills and nobody exposed it. Nobody took him on. That would be difficult for me to swallow. Nonetheless,
he said the house is being acquired to his renting.
I get that, but then the argument is that nobody believes that he's renting it.
When I spoke to Fenyo Markin, he said he doesn't believe it. He said it's not true.
What do you believe it?
He said Ablakwa wears designer suits, designer shoes, and all of that. He said he doesn't believe it.
That. No, I'm not referring.
But anyway,
I have never said
finish,
that.
If
you are showing that you are a man of integrity, you are transparent, you are all that, and you are going to public office, a common rent that you cannot produce.
So there's an answer to that. I was there when Ablakwa was being read.
You are giving
the chairman actually overruled that request.
Right.
And there's tape. The chairman overruled that request during the proceedings.
Based on what?
Oh, you are not getting me. The request for the tenancy agreement.
Right.
The chairman overruled that.
Right.
So I'm surprised that it was demanded again on the floor that the man failed to produce it. When the chairman overruled that request, how do you expect him to produce it?
Why he overruled it? Why?
No, you're not getting me. See, that's beside the point. I know that. Yes, so you cannot hold that against the man.
Committee members the members of the committee, when it was overruled, probably insisted that
provided. You get the point. So see,
in all the chairman rules, you cannot insist.
Yes, so then you can't hold that.
You should be asking chairman why he's not.
No, we can ask chairman. We can ask chairman.
Why he's not putting the chairman?
How do you let I be? The chairman is protecting the interest.
He's only protecting the interest of his.
And when he does, the appointee is not required to provide it.
Exactly. So why hold it against him?
What of the letters that he said he was going to produce?
So the man won't finish.
Finish.
But he's speaking for the man. He said the man has integrity. He said the man has integrity.
No, IB has not said the man has integrity. IB has only making a point that he believes that if the NPP had debts on the Okujeto Ablakwa, they would have brought it out.
Okay.
Let him finish.
Basically. So to wrap up this. See, corruption is a very big deal. It deprives us of the necessary resources for our forward march as a country. Right. Now, we are here talking about the wastage in the system. The only way we can stem this in the tide is to ensure that we exact accountability from public office holders.
Right. Okay.
I am for any attempt, rightfully, to recover anything that belongs to the state that has been taken. See, I'm not interested in even seeing people in jail. You know what? If we are able to just ensure that if indeed things were looted, those items, those monies, everything is returned to the state, we are better off for it. I'm not actually interested in getting somebody prosecuted and throwing the person in jail. No, if there's an agreement like happened with the banking sector cleanup, where the suspect then says that, you know what, I'm entering into an agreement, plea bargaining agreement with the state, and I'll be able to pay back, and the person follows through to return everything that is due the state. Why not? I'm not a fan of seeing people incarcerated. So if the bottom line is that things that belong to the state must return to the state. Moving forward, what belongs to the state must be protected. As to what lands are sold to the private sector and what have you, you can get into that. If you think there's anything wrong that happened, do you know that the Special Prosecutor's Office is still there?
Yes.
Do you know that the YOCO is still there? You do know that as a private citizen, you can petition the police to investigate these matters. For instance, somebody, as he's alluding to, conflict of interest, right? Because he said this publicly, that the president was engaged in conflict of interest.
You are referring to, they are there and oral was formed. So maybe probably say I should refer to oral.
No,
oral is just a committee that doesn't have any investigative powers. They don't have any power.
It will go back to these same organizations that I've mentioned.
Oral doesn't have any power.
You can follow through and go there and make your conflict of interest allegation again. You can actually go to strike. You can go to strike. You go to strike and say that these lands were sold to private sector players for development.
So are we wasting our time with this oral thing?
It will go to the investigative bodies.
Well, the president has mentioned
the oral is just to denigrate some people.
The president has mentioned, that when they are done collecting evidence, he will forward it to the appropriate, and that is the only thing that oral committee was meant to do.
Is that to suggest that these other institutions don't have what it takes to gather information?
Well, I don't know.
All this oral was meant to deliberate people, to bring people to public, expose people to public.
Lawyer Boite, please. You have the floor with rapid.
Now, oral is a promise the president made to the people of Ghana that when he is elected president, he will cover all loads. How he does it is completely within his own purview, as long as he's not doing it illegally. I do not see what everybody's problem is. When the president was elected, he decided that even this is so important to me that even before I take office, I'll start preparatory works. He set up a committee to start preparatory works for him. The committee was given a mandate. Its mandate was to gather information on state looted assets and present a report to him so that he would know the next steps to take. For me, this should be like a movie everybody is watching. And so, look, now Okujuju was asked the mandate. And he said, look, there is no restriction as to how far they can go. I do not believe that if in the course of the oral investigation, it came to them that $1 billion of Ghana's money has been looted and is sitting somewhere in Cayman Islands, in the last 4 administrations, ago, or in the past, even Mahama administration, but the money is sitting somewhere in Cayman Islands, and all evidence shows that this money was government of Ghana money that was stolen and hidden. They will say, oh, no. As long as this money it's not within the past Akufo-Addo regime, we will let it go. So, we don't even know the report. I think this should unfold as almost like a movie. Let them present the report. And people have claimed legality. You see, it is only those who, have done wrong who fear their own shadows. Otherwise, I think that, look, you haven't looted any state property, you have been clean, you watch. Me, I am watching. If they present the report, we will be happy to know what is inside. If the president decides that he will even make the content, and he might not make the content public. So when people say it's meant to denigrate people, there might be things in there that we may never get to know. But then we see the next step the president wants to take. I would have said that you don't want to see people incarcerated.
Did I say that?
No, sorry. Sorry, incarcerated. I'm sorry. I meant IB. He doesn't want to see people incarcerated. I want to see people incarcerated.
Yes.
Maybe because of my training as a lawyer. I think that the only way to deter crime is to punish crime. So, but you see, the promise the president made, it's obvious that the focus is not to incarcerate people. But when you say you want to recover loot, if you wanted to prosecute crime, it would have been a different discussion. So I think that the president has made it very clear that his objective with the oral is to really get state assets back. I think that when the state assets are recovered, in order that other people, including the people in this government, in fact, for more so the people in this government, will not set out also to appropriate state property in the hope that the worst that will happen is that after 8 years of using and enjoying it, it will be recovered back. Maybe, some prosecutions must happen where necessary. But I don't see where the hue and cry is. In all of this discussion, I think what has happened is that the president made a promise and he's keeping it. And we must watch to what extent he keeps it. So this is the next phase of that promise. Let's see, once he gets the report, what he does with it. Then we can comment from there.
All right.
Yeah.
We have to move on to the next issue. So brief comment, 30 seconds I will do, and then let's move on
about these state properties, the capture and all that. I am saying that the people who have acquired these properties did not give the amounts to themselves. They price it. They do not do it themselves. The commission, that's the Lands Commission, did. Yeah. If the new government feels that those properties were acquired cheaply, I think that, and they were not illegally acquired.
Yeah.
I think that they should give the option to the people with a new price that they think that is a price for them to acquire. If you don't do that and you take the land from the person because it is cheap, the next government that may come may go back and say that the time you also acquired your land, you should have paid this amount and you didn't pay. And therefore, you should also be asked to pay extra amount. If you do that, I think there will be a problem for this.
All right.
So I think we should even recover it. Why are we selling state lands? This habit of selling state lands.
You see the policy.
I am very. If you live in Kumasi, you will understand my frustration. Yes. Look, inside the KMA residential premises,
you have
commercial properties out. Commercial buildings are going on inside where the KMA boss used to live.
Yes.
Inside the premises, that is walled.
Yes.
I don't know who is doing the construction. Maybe legally, but this place has been KMA president. Whoever took decision to sell it, I am surprised. I mean, it's unfortunate that I'm singling out as if somebody is doing wrong.
All the lands surrounding the residency have been sold.
And even in Kumasi, that lawyer Boite is talking about, you go to Denyame, all the state lands in Denyame,
I just don't understand.
It's the politicians who are buying these lands.
Yes,
that's what I'm saying.
Problem.
They should not be hypocritical about this. Because they are both guilty, both MPP and DC. They are guilty of this.
We say all of us sitting here should not buy land. Yeah. They will buy them in the name of their friends.
Exactly the argument I was making with the IB.
All right.
They are great agricultures who
let's make progress. Let's make progress. Let's talk about the briefly talk about the committee that is investigating the chaos that happened in Parliament. There were issues about the minority not wanting to be a part of it. Now we have information that now the minority will avail themselves, to be a part of it. The clerk of the appointments committee, testified. Afegomakin apologized, and all of these matters arising. Oberforce, let me begin with you on these matters.
So I hope I can be heard. I'm here. You can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
So the committee. The appointments committee.
Yes.
It's unfortunate that their work in recent time has come under ridicule because of the sad incidents that took place following the completion of I think it was the completion of Sam George vetting. It was completion of Sam George vetting. No, Okujeto came
after Sam George. Mutala, and then they went to Joseph Bukari Nipe, and then also after. So that day they actually vetted 5 people, and then Parliamentary Kando, and then Samuel Kuza Blaka were supposed to take their turns. That was why they came.
And then the minority felt that it was late. They were tired, so let's shift it to tomorrow. The majority wanted to continue with it and all that. What I wasn't happy when we came up to talk about this, what I wasn't happy about was the distraction of property that belongs to Parliament and for that matter the state, to the extent that we can disagree. I mean, here on this table, this desk, we disagree on some things, but we are not breaking your what you call it, what we call this desk. Your desk.
Yes.
We are not breaking it apart. Neither am I not coming for your tablet or coming for IB's phone and throwing it away. So we can disagree, But members of parliament should not be seen destroying property, because when you do that, how are you going to tell the ordinary person that they shouldn't go that far? And that is what we're seeing, ordinary Ghanaians going about and looting state property and destroying state properties and stuff like that. In fact, this election, we burnt EC offices, we burnt police stations, we burnt all kinds of things. We looted warehouses and all those kind of things.
By the way, that one is also
is it going to be part of oral?
I don't know.
We have petition. Did you petition oral?
Maybe we should petition
I
oral.
thought it's not only about petition. They themselves are going with cameras and
So I'm only saying that it's unfortunate that the committee had to get to that. It was a very bad example. Every investigation into this matter is important. For me, I think that the entire committee, they should sit down and agree that as a committee, not as one side, as a committee, they should decide that to set a good example, everything that we did that didn't go well, especially anything that was destroyed, the committee itself should vote and say that we are paying for it as a sign of goodwill to the state. Let it not come from the speaker saying that we will charge you, but the committee, they are going to sit again. I believe from next week, they might start sitting again to vet the deputy ministers. Yes, okay.
For his reconstitution. Yeah. But there are some people you will still see. The chairman will still be the chairman.
Yes.
The ranking member will still be there. The whip will still be there. The minority whip, majority whip will still be there. The vice chairman will still be there. Then the deputy ranking will still be there. But the other members.
But that is really the committee.
Yeah, that's
the rest.
There are 11 members of the committee.
11 members. Of the
so
committee.
I'm only saying that committee, in the course of our work last week or last 2 weeks, this and this happened. We have done an evaluation. This and this happened. We have done an evaluation. This and this was what was spoiled. Tables and chairs. It cost this amount. The committee has decided that we are going to pay for it, and the money for it is even ready. So this is it. We are presenting it to you, to Parliament. The Parliament has a works department, isn't it?
Yes.
Ibrahim, they have a works department. Yeah, so
they fix the table.
They fix it. Yes. So after they have evaluated, they know how much it costs.
Yeah.
Only one microphone.
Yes.
The one you were holding.
Yes.
Only one microphone was destroyed.
The one you were holding.
But we know the price. So they should come together and agree and say, as a committee, we have decided that we will not let this cost be the cost of the state. We are bearing the cost as we have decided that we will not let this cost be the cost of the state. We are bearing the cost ourselves. And this is the works department says it is 20,000.
Yeah.
So this is the 20,000. We have all contributed. This is the 20,000. We are giving it, paying it back to the chest for the money that has been spent. Let's have that goodwill from them. And that will cure all these problems that have come up as a result of the difficulties that arose from the area. There are 11 people. If the cost is even 20,000, even if they were 10, everybody has to pay 2,000.
In addition, we're more than 11.
Yes, but I'm just saying that.
Somewhere actually.
So now the other dimension is that there is a committee which was set up by the speaker to investigate it. Is it Kwame? Because they believe that the speaker should have consulted leadership for them to present names, but the speaker just unilaterally chose the members of the committee. But it looks like there's been a U-turn in that regard, and now they are going to, participate. So the committee had earlier begun their sittings and hearings without the minority side, and the minority had said that they were going to even abstain from appearing before the committee, but it looks like now there's a U-turn on that, and from today we'll be seeing, the committee work, together.
Well, the minority must be part of this. I mean, if I had the opportunity to advise them, I'll tell them that be part of it, go join it, and offer your contribution to the committee. And the committee's work is important. That I'm talking about, that they are taking responsibility for the distractions that they brought to Parliament, and that they are saying that even though they have been repaired, the cost of repair was this, and we have decided that we are paying for it, and not just deciding but providing evidence to show that this is the cash, we are going to pay for it, and we are paying for it. Even if you like, bring the works manager and do a ceremony in front of the committee and the televisions and present it to the works manager. Let the works manager give us a receipt that he has received the monies and he's going to pay it to the Parliament account, so that we do not spend any money of the state repairing the damage that was caused by members of the House. So that is, but the committee, it is important that the minority joins. let them contribute. And I, quite frankly, because of the happenings being on national television, I think that day it was even live on GHOne.
Yes.
We all saw what happened.
Yes.
There was one particular man who was wearing some grey suit to be like that. I had the occasion to ask whether he's a member of parliament, because
he's an MP.
The action that the guy was doing there,
he's an MP.
like
he's an MP.
So that's my point. I don't think I have anything more to say.
I will do. Let me bring you now.
I agree with you on the payment of the committee. One person can even volunteer to pay the cost of it. It's just one microphone. Yeah. So they can pay.
And a table. The table was two legs.
Yes. So they can settle that.
Table,
so that
once it has lost a leg, it has become it has become defective. So they should buy a new table.
That's all.
Complete table,
that's all.
new one.
That's all. And that one,
place the mic.
That's all. As he said, I am happy that the minority is coming back. My only worry is that this they should not turn this into MPP NDC game. The committee, we should have some objective hearing, and then the report you capture exactly what happened. If we turn it into an MPP NDC game, blame game, we will not get anything out of this committee. So you should try as much as possible to make it, to have some consensus on what Parliament was up on. There are many committee works, committees that have not come before that have not been, in fact, reports have not been produced. Many. I hope they will work together and produce a report that will prevent recurrence of such things in the future.
Lawyer Boete.
Yes, for me, it is not the cost of the damage to the state. State suffers bigger, collateral losses than this all the time in the course of the performance of functions. I'm not sure if that microphone had fallen out from the hand of a member and it's gotten damaged, would have been a big deal. It is this seemingly consistent intolerance in Parliament, and the level of and I'm looking for the right words, really.
Don't use seemingly.
Just
go direct.
Because you see, this is not exhibition of indiscipline. And I'm sorry to use it, but this is what you depict. We've had parliaments, ballot box snatching. We had small, then the scuffle. This is a discussion about how many people to vet. And the leadership of Parliament in the vetting committee could not convene to discuss it and agree. And in the full glare of the public, there had to be a scuffle. For me, this is embarrassment. And I'm hoping that this committee is going to, put this investigation beyond the happening of the day to the whole happenings that keep going on, and to prefer solutions that will prevent our Parliament from looking the way it looks, in this contest. Because you see, that is why the Speaker decided to suspend some people as a form of punishment, maybe as deterrence. But then there was protestation, and then there was what you call a bail application, and then they were brought back. But my worry really is how consistently Parliament seems to be ridiculed over very trivial things because members cannot hold their temper. And I'm talking even beyond violence. There are times when even the exchanges are unparliamentary. The way we're treating the Parliament of Ghana lately, it leaves a lot to be desired. And if we don't take care, Parliament will gradually lose its gravitas. For me, this is the concern. And so I am only hoping, and that is why I don't know why the minority decided to abstain in the beginning. They are also the ones who were wearing black when the suspension came. But I want to hope that even the minority leader is worried about these consistent occurrences and wants to see an end to it. It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter which side of the divide is initiating it or doing it more. Parliament, the MPs must be feeling embarrassed about the way these things are happening, and the fact that even on very trivial things they are not able to build consensus, and they will resort to violence. Look, you were talking about us here. Don't we disagree heavily all the time and finish and go and talk about watching? I mean, we disagree all the time. Yes, I would do is shouting. You would think this man wants to beat me. When we finish, he will be the first to wrap his hand around me. I mean, even in our universities and secondary schools, we didn't fight over disagreement. If your motor's on it, you push onto you. Remember?
So this happened in Parliament.
Yeah.
You remember Eslo Usu and
It was only in primary school. Now it happens in Parliament. Yeah. And so I'm really hoping that this committee would get to a report, a closure, and a report that would make recommendations that would bring some decorum in
some housekeeping measures that they are rolling out, because there are new MPs who had undergone orientation and ought to have known better. I was there when it happened, and it was shocking.
And only one person was a new MP, and I don't even know.
No, many of them. There were many.
No, I'm talking about the four that were suspended.
Yes. Only one person.
Only Jerry Ahmed.
Yes, Jerry Ahmed.
Some of them are old MPs.
Yes, old MPs. But if you take the whole episode and review it, yes, it was triggered by old MPs, obviously, because they say to it. The backbenchers actually look to the behavior of the front benches. And so, yes, there was a trigger. Initially, they just put on the microphones. Usually, it's a tool deployed in Parliament to create disruption. That's acceptable, even though it's quite unfortunate. I felt they should have left it there. Because once you put on two microphones, you disable that of even the chairman and everybody else. So even if the chairman wanted to bring proceedings to an end, he would not have access to his microphone to do that, right? And then somebody felt, okay, so we've disabled the microphones. What else can we do? Okay, let's disorganize the tables, right? So they started pulling apart the tables. And then the majority side is, okay, pull it back. Disorganize it, pull it back. And then somebody realized in the process, I think the public address system, the microphones were being torn apart. Yeah. Okay, how about we do that? Let's tear them. And then they started destroying the microphones. Right? And these were members of Parliament.
Oh my goodness.
See, these were fathers. There were no mothers involved. Yeah, once again. There were no mothers involved. It was the men who were in the takeoff.
Men at work.
Men at work. So, Speaker, yes, I think Speaker took drastic action to send a message. And I think he succeeded in doing that. Yes, the suspension, many describe as high-handed, but I think that was the vibe the Speaker was getting from the public, because it was largely hailed. That is exactly. The two, I understand, the minority whip and then the majority whip. I understand. And that is because they are responsible for maintaining law and order and discipline. Yeah. And so once they failed in doing that, they had to go home. I get that. The other two, if it was because the Speaker reviewed the video, then there were many, many more people that should have joined that list. Yeah. Nonetheless, there was a bail application, remorsefully, which was put before the Speaker. The four were asked to come back. And I think there's some semblance of peace in the House. Like I said yesterday, there was an engagement, joint caucus meeting, and I'm sure they sent the message across forcefully that this type of behaviors should not be entertained. Because if you look at the least respected arm of government, it's Parliament. And day in, day out, the actions chipping away anything at all that the public hold in high esteem when it comes to the legislature. The committee should do its work. It's good that the minority is returning. Let's get some definite recommendations. Let's ensure that those recommendations are implemented and say never again. I sat here the last week we were here and said never again. Later did I know that I'll be going to Parliament that morning to witness the vitriol.
On the show, I want
a friend said to me that this Parliament, they keep spoiling their bad name.
Even the bad name is being spoiled.
That I warned him that he should not be sure.
Yes, only for him to go there.
And then the clerk, of course, was accused of being partisan and that degenerated. But of course, usually clerks do not speak. So I was actually surprised that she turned up and then took the seat and then gave testimony to the ordeal she went through, and then to the fact that the husband had even called her to come, leave, abandon the work and come home.
I am actually glad that Afenyo took step to. You see, it was not the offense. I feared. Look, these kinds of commentary you could wake up after that press conference. She could go home and her house is burnt down. These things happen all the time. You know, political party people don't. It was too much risk to expose a public servant to.
It was interesting.
And the way he did it,
he
was
maintained the position during the press conference. He had interviews where he maintained the position. In the last interview I had with him, the night before he apologized, he still maintained that the clerk was partisan.
It was unnecessary.
Only for him to get to the floor of the House the next day and realize that he has to apologize.
It was unnecessary because you see, even if you felt the clerk was partisan, you could have reported her to.
He mentioned that he did.
Yes,
he mentioned that he reported to the clerk of Parliament.
There was no need to tell
there was a lot of engagement
that she was impeding your work and that she was partisan. It was she was put to. So I was fearing for her because look. Partisan people, they can come and burn your house or do anything to you.
You are right. But I think that you again said that you applauded for doing what he did. Not many people will do what he did it. And he actually, unreservedly, he apologized to the lady, the husband, everybody that is related to this. I think that's the right thing to do. But what I was going to talk about, you know, the deputy ministers have just been released. I thought all this arose because of the disagreement with the number of people to be vetted and all that. I think that the clerk and the chairman and the minority leader, they will meet and look at the number of people that should be vetted. I think from now going, they should all have this understanding that at any particular day, these are the number of nominees that should be vetted. It should not be, one should not be taken by surprise that you agree that 4 will be vetted, and then you bring one, you add another one, do that, and there will be disagreements. But when they agree that this is the number we are going to vet on a particular day, there will not be any issues at all. You remember the whole thing started smoothly.
Oh yes,
very well until this thing happened. So
and Lantam, briefly, because you mentioned that in your engagement with Afenyo Markin, the minority leader, he still insisted, yes, of course. But what happened? What triggered the apology was this: Gavin Kwame Abuja, the rules minister, brought to the attention of the House how traumatized the family was, because he personally knows the family, and that the woman was traumatized, and that was what triggered the apology, unreserved apology. So, but kudos to the minority leader.
He did well. I think somebody who said Chief Justice engaged in criminal even that one to say.
So we'll take a short break here and come back and discuss briefly 2 issues, right? The issue of someone still on Parliament being described as daughter of Medra, and then there is also the issue of the SIC MD, who now we understand has withdrawn her suit. So we'll take a very short break and return and deal with those issues. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. the show. Still watching GH Day here on GHOne television. We'll get on with the rest of the discussion. So one of the issues that has also become topical this week is the SIC, former SIC MD, who was asked to go home. She refused to go without getting a severance package. She believes that she was inappropriately terminated, or a contract was inappropriately terminated, and so she headed to the court. There's a lot of conversation about, you are someone who was appointed by the previous administration, all the MDs are leaving, why don't you want to leave, why are you still holding on to the position? But there are those who argue that she has every legitimate right to insist on what is due her and for the right things to be done. And so they don't begrudge her for taking the route that she decided to take by going to court and all of that. We understand this morning that she has withdrawn the suit because there's been some sort of settlement. But the other thing that is intriguing a lot of people is looking at the benefits that an MD of the state-owned institution is entitled to. That is where the eyebrows are being. That's where the eyebrows are being raised. So. Wilberforce, let me begin with you on this. I said earlier that we should look at how much they are earning and juxtapose it to the output of the institution that they are heading. Are they doing well in that institution? Is it being run well? Are they making profits, or they are making losses? And then we justify the salaries. But your thoughts on these issues?
So is it to say that we are no longer interested in the issue of the managing directorship?
We are interested in
the benefits.
We are interested in everything. everything.
But you'll be surprised to know that the SIC is probably the least on the list.
Oh yeah, you look at Cocoa, GMTC, BOST, VRA, all of them, MPA.
So just let people know that, I think we should let people know that when you rise to a certain high offices in the land, you must have gone through a lot of processes to get there. And so these your benefits actually includes your responsibility allowances and risk allowances and all that, because the person who is in that position is going to take responsibility when anything goes wrong. Even when somebody in the last level of the organization takes a decision that affects the company, of circumstances that surround their work and the implications of it. That is a read of circumstances that surround their work and the implications of it. This is why they have some of these benefits. I read the statement of claim that his lawyers filed on her behalf. And reading the statement of claim, two things came to me. The first was the fact that the state, SIC as an organization is actually listed on the Ghana Stock Exchange. And so even though the state has shares in it, it has a wide range of shareholders. And it is this long list of shareholders who make decisions as to who serves as managing director and all those kind of things. Yeah. And this lady says she finds herself in that space where she was appointed by the board. Is it the board? Yes, the board, together with the shareholders and stuff like that. I think in 2024 March. So she's barely. January. It was January. Yeah. So she's barely a year. So it's barely a year in office. Yes, and her term of office was supposed to expire 28th. Yes, so 2028. 4-year contract. And so if a new government comes, and the new government by virtue of the shares it owns in the company feels that he has the power to appoint a managing director or not, then you need to do some further consultation. The lady from the statement of claim, I get the picture that she's saying that, look, you didn't even bother to. I received a letter. Okay, so if you want that, then pay me all the benefits that will be due me from now to 2028. That I would have finished my service, and then I'll be ready to walk out of the office, so that you bring whoever you want to come and sit there to. This matter.
And she's a lawyer, so she knows these legal things.
But trust me, this matter.
Yeah.
The only way out of this matter is ADR.
Yeah.
Negotiation and yes, but I'm saying that it is not. You don't go and litigate this matter. Yeah. I think it is better solved when they talk. And that is the reason why. And his lawyer, her lawyer, is a very old lawyer. When I saw the name, something Poku is. Yes, he's a very, very well-known lawyer, and he knows his law. So I'm not surprised that they've decided that they are going to talk. Right. Yes. So let's leave it there. Let them talk. Let's solve this problem.
So government could have just organized. They could have organized an emergency board meeting, annual general meeting, annual general meeting for the decision to be taken. Annual general meeting for the decision to be taken. That the board that appointed, it is the same board that can discontinue with anything that is in lieu of, then you pay her and the new MD will come in. They did a similar thing with GCB. Yeah. When this man was being appointed, Professor Alabi as board chair, and then the new MD, there was an annual general meeting and everything was done, sorted out. They could have done a similar thing here to so that if you are bringing a new MD, the annual general meeting will be held and the thing will be sorted out. And we will not have these problems, because the problem that has arisen was that apparently the new MD, which is our own colleague, Mr. Ajeni Mboating, stated that to him the board has been dissolved. All boards have been dissolved, but this board cannot be dissolved this way. This one is not, even though SIC is a state company, it's not. There is a board, so that you cannot dissolve. Government cannot just dissolve the board like that. There has to be some process, and therefore there could not have been any dissolution of SIC board with the dissolution of other boards. There are boards that government's sole ownership of these companies, government can decide that, but this one is not like that. All it's shareholding, and therefore if you are dissolving, there must be a process to dissolve the board, and that board, this board, particular board, has not been dissolved. So with an annual general meeting, as I said, could have settled this matter. Everybody will have the understanding. You cannot, if the employer says that you should go, you cannot say you cannot go. But the conditions agreed to you will be paid to you, and you go peacefully. And if they had gone through the process, this needless back and forth would not have arisen. I think that we should do things the right way. We should do it the right way. Because the woman cannot insist that she wants to be there.
No, she can't.
Or MDS are taking huge salaries, and yet those companies and agencies are making losses. That one we should look in. This is another matter that we have to look. Agencies, state company get salaries and benefits and precedence. Agencies, state company get salaries and benefits and precedence. Heads of state. You were talking about depending on the agency that you superintend. You were talking about depending on the agency that you superintend. You heard because salaries or some
on the with a coat of arms from the office of the president.
It's a process.
You see, no, I'm coming. We have not seen it. I'm coming.
It's a process.
I'm coming. It is a practice. All these very technical issues that are being raised now because it has come to the fore. Otherwise, that in those organizations, the structure has understood that governments appoint those CEOs, and a lot of the time, I won't be surprised if this lady's appointment letter is just like James Ajeni Mboating's appointment letter, and came from the office of the state. Regular. Yeah, so you are talking about regularization, ratification.
There's no problem with that.
What I'm saying is, look, your appointment letter will have a termination clause. It's often been said, the contract of service, the contract of employment is one of service, not one of servitude. Nobody can force you to work if you decide to resign.
Yes.
The same way you can't force anybody to keep you at the work if they decide that they are not comfortable working with you.
That's right.
Even if you had a contract, there will be a termination clause.
Yes.
Now, was she written to that you have been terminated, or was the mere appointment of the other MD that triggered this.
He wasn't written to that.
For for a certain board ratification to happen, it had to wait. We rushed to court only.
No.
Only
went to assume office. They
wanting to assume office and assuming office are two different things.
But
if you came and met me in the office when I know that my appointment is revoked, your appointment I've seen in the news. Nobody has communicated to me officially that I should leave this office. So go through the process, and when I have properly been removed, I'll hand over to you.
Later. From the office of the president, it's not a joke.
No.
Later. From the office of the president, it's not a joke.
No. See, let me make it a point to you. This letter was never addressed to this woman. Yeah. It was not even CC'd to her. Yeah. So you might have heard and seen the letter, but it was not even CC'd to her. Yeah. So you might have heard and seen the letter, but if the letter was to communicate something to you, the letter would. My point is that and
as a guardian,
you might look at it, and
as a
you might look at it only strictly. And people who don't understand corporate governance, even now making commentary about what you are earning and why.
So whose fault? Is it the lady's fault?
If I was in her position and this happened, I would not go to court. That's the point I'm making.
All right. Well, so yes, Ivy. Finally,
I think CEOs and MDs or managers of state-owned enterprises, right, should know one thing, and they should know it clearly. Yes, there is a Supreme Court judgment that will remain on paper, and if you are a legal person and you are managing a state entity, and you think because there's a certain judgment from the Supreme Court that CEOs of state-owned enterprises should not have their terms come to an end when there's a change in government, know very well that you have a paper in your hand that's ineffective. That